This is Raise the Age, and I'm Philip Sharp. And in this video commentary, I want to talk about the reward of the left. Now, the reward of the left is not really a good reward, but I want to paint it through the stroke of history and current events within our own time. And I'll let you be the judge if the reward is good enough for you to actually serve the ends of the left. First, I want to bring up a man called Father Georgi Gapon. Now, many of you may not know who he is by name, but if you recall your history, or you can look this up, of course, on the internet if you want to search it that way. He was an Orthodox priest back in Tsarist Russia, and he was an avid worker for the rights of workers back in his day to help the working conditions of the working class. Now, in this process, he had no qualms with who he would work with in order to accomplish his goal. He just wanted to improve the conditions of the working class in Tsarist Russia at the time. Perhaps if I was to explain the event of Bloody Sunday, he's the priest that led those thousands of people down to St. Petersburg when they were then cut down by Tsarist forces as a reaction against that protest. That Bloody Sunday, it was Father Gappin who led that procession down into St. Petersburg. This was during a time where there was a revolution before the revolution, if you will. There was a revolution in 1905 into 1906 throughout Russia where the socialists and other groups were trying to overthrow the Tsarist government and create a new one. The work that Father Gappin was doing was just one piece of many things that were going on at the time, so that when the Tsarist forces reacted against this, and these were peaceful protesters, by the way. If you want to compare peaceful protests that are actually brutalized as opposed to the ridiculous jargon being used today, compare this one with what you see now. It'd be a big difference. These were actual peaceful protesters marching down into St. Petersburg to give an address to the Tsar about the conditions of the working people, hoping that he would help alleviate it, and then they were bitterly attacked unprovoked. That applies in this case. Not like now. That don't apply whatsoever now. But after that event, he was banned from Russia, couldn't return again. But he worked out something with the Russian government where if he was to speak out against the violence that was going on, that he would then be allowed to come back and continue his work to advocate for the working classes in Russia. Again, that was his goal. If I can somehow, curb the violence in the land, because he did, like most people, he doesn't want to see the violence erupt in his nation. Go figure. And he can still work for the betterment of the workers. So he thought, this is a good deal, I will take it. Well, guess who was upset with that type of arrangement? His buddies on the left. How dare he work with the existing government to improve the conditions of working people? So this is what they did to him. That's a picture of Father Gappin being hung by socialists who didn't like the fact that he was trying to improve the plight of the working class by working with the government that be. They wanted to topple it and create their own utopia. Father Gappin was just too much in the way, and this was his reward. Now, why do I bring that up? And why do I think that has anything to do with now? Well, I'm going to give you three prominent examples that have taken place just within the span of a few months of our time and our history, where you see what I call the reward of the left. The three examples I'm going to give you, they're not lost on you if you've been paying attention. I understand that this might be over some of your all's heads because very few national outlets have covered hardly anything about the violent protest. I said violent protest, and I mean it, that had taken place in Seattle and in Portland and Chicago and a few other places. But those are the big three that have tons of video and evidence that you can see that these people are not protesting. They're just violent mobs. Period. Violent mobs. A lot of people may not know that. If you're one of those people who gets your information just from the big media, national syndicated outlets, you probably don't know much of what's going on with it because they just don't cover it. So the things I'm going to show you are from local sources, local news media that's covering things that are happening in their location. And if it wasn't for them, the nation would probably be just unaware of what's going on unless you're there knowing the situation. Now, the first one here is a report from KIRO7, which is in Seattle. And this is talking about when the mob formed outside of Jenny Durkan's home, she's the mayor of Seattle, to protest that she did not defund the police enough. And so now they're going to bring the fight to her doorstep. Now, if you recall, and maybe again, you may not, depends on who your source of information is, but this mayor called it, the whole event that took place in CHOP or Chaz or the occupied zone or whatever you want to call it, a summer of love. She compared it like just the 60s, and it's just a bunch of hippies blowing off steam or something. And, everybody, it's just democracy. She thinks that's democracy. I don't know how, a republic works that way where everybody just burns down stuff and demands that they get what they want or else. But to her, that's a democracy. Okay, whatever. But anyway, it was a summer of love until they show up at her house and protest there. Then all of a sudden, this stuff had to stop. But you know what? She got her wages and her reward from working with the left because she initially came out supporting it. She spent tax money to give them this safe place in which to conduct their protest, using the police to guard them rather than protect people from them. But that suddenly changed when it was at her door. Amazing. But that's what you get when you work with the left like that. That's the reward you get. If you don't go far enough, if you don't give them what they're asking for, it doesn't matter how much you support them. You're now the enemy, and they will treat you like that in a heartbeat. The next example I want to bring up to you is the mayor of Chicago, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who came out in support of these protests, violent mobs, refused to acknowledge it for what it was sympathetic to the cause. And that's just it. You think I'm sympathetic to what you want, therefore I'm on your side. But apparently she wasn't on their side quite enough, because they as well decided we're going to come to your house and bring the protest to you. Now notice here in the Chicago Tribune, it shows pictures of police officers guarding her city block to make sure no one brings it to her. Yet how many people in her city that she's sworn to protect did she allow these mobs to go unchecked, wrecking and stealing whatever they want and not protect them? But she protects entire city block for her sake. See, it's different when it's at your door, isn't it? But you know what? This is your reward for working with the left. If you don't give them everything they ask for, if you are the slightest hindrance into what they're trying to accomplish, they will turn on you and take you out in a heartbeat. But then there's one more example I want to cover. This one is about Portland, which is the one that's more prominent in cities now. And I'm telling you, if you're just getting your updates just from the big media, you probably have no clue what's going on. But if you're more inclined to be in tune with the age, if you will, you have your Twitter feeds and you have social media and you get your news from all kinds of different sources, to include local sources. You probably have seen all kinds of mayhem in Portland lately that's just now finally being cracked down on. Now, why is it suddenly being cracked down on, I wonder? Maybe it has something to do with this, huh? See, this is a report by KATU2, another local source in Portland. They're on your side, right? Where it shows the mob burning down the mayor's house, Ted Wheeler, his home, on his birthday. They sang about it as it was torched. They've been there a few days before trying to coerce him to do something that maybe he wasn't prepared to do. But he did not go far enough, and this is his reward for working with the left. He too was defendant of what they were doing. He refused to aid federal workers initially. He didn't want Trump to have a hand in it because that's my political enemy and I would rather let my city burn first. Well, until it comes to your house. Then all of a sudden it's different, isn't it? Well, now they're cracking down on it. And if you've been watching these videos, if you have been paying attention, the police are no longer keeping their gloves on. The gloves have come off. They should have come off at the beginning of this, when other people's property and lives were threatened. But it's only when the mayor gets it that suddenly, maybe we need to get involved and let the police be the police. I don't know. Something to think about there. I mean, I don't know. But each one of these mayors did exactly what Father Gappin did. You worked with people you thought you could get your agendas met. You form your political alliances and accomplish your goals. But then you realize these people aren't going to work with nobody. You give them what they want or else. Now, this is what I mean by the left. I know some of you, you're watching this, you're thinking, you heard the word left, and you sympathize with certain things, and you're like, you immediately shut off everything I've said. When I'm talking about left, I'm talking about the current state of the Democratic Party. A party that I used to once affiliate with, that many used to once affiliate with. But it's not that party anymore. They are a Marxist hybrid party, becoming more and more Marxist, to where numerous Democrats are now realizing this. But I just want to tell you, if you think you're going to be able to placate them and work with them, and they'll just leave you alone and get along with you, that's a lie. They will turn on you in a heartbeat if they even suspect you're going to be in their way. Or if you just serve as an example and you're innocent, it doesn't matter. As long as they get what they want. They are Machiavellian, realpolitik type of people. The ends justify the means. And if that means burning down your place, too bad. If it means slaughtering people in the streets, too bad. If it means harassing people to no end where they have no peace, too bad. If it means surrounding people in their homes and intimidating them, too bad. They're going to get what they want in the end. And if you think you're going to placate them, well, you're going to get the reward that you got coming to you. The reward from the left. I hope you've enjoyed this commentary today. If you did, why don't you go ahead and hit the subscribe button below and you'll have more content to look forward to, more video commentaries. There's also podcasts that are shared here on the Rage of the Age page where we interview numerous people from different backgrounds talking about things like politics, religion, economics, and history. Yes, with a conservative bend, because that's what I am, and I come by it honestly. This is Philip Sharp with Rage of the Age. Till the next time.